My grave was dug up by a husky. Well, not exactly a grave, just a small mound of earth. No one knew a person was buried beneath that tiny mound. My soul floated above it, playfully trying to shoo the dog away. It glanced at me twice, then dug with even greater enthusiasm. Sigh asterisk, I'm already dead, so what's the use? Let things flow as they may. Why bother clinging to dignity? When it unearthed my pelvis, everyone in the park gasped. The 10-year-old missing person case of Jenny Zhang finally had a clue, and I, Jenny Zhang, somehow found myself inhabiting the body of that stray husky. I could feel the world around me again, seeing the police organize the excavation. A young woman nearby stroked me. Good dog, little bear, you've done a great job today. I'll treat you to some sausages later, okay? Perhaps this body reacted to the word, sausage, because my tail wagged furiously and I even started drooling. Fortunately, when the killer buried me, they also buried my identification papers. My parents, whom I hadn't seen in 10 years, rushed to the park. My mother collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably at the sight of the skeleton on the white sheet. My father, ever calm, held her, offering a pillar of support. Jenny, my useless mother, let you lie here alone for 10 years. I broke free from the young woman's embrace and ran towards my mother. Woof, woof, woof. Mom, I'm here, don't cry anymore. No matter how loudly I barked or how fast my tail wagged, my mother didn't understand me. I could only lick her face. You're the dog who found Jenny, aren't you? Thank you so much. My mother held back her tears and hugged my head. Her embrace was still so warm, making me feel at peace. Detective Hu, the police officer handling the case, approached my mother. My condolences. Now that Jenny Zhang's remains have been found, the culprit will surely be apprehended soon. Thank you, Detective Hu, for never giving up these past 10 years. We will certainly cooperate. My father, a university professor, spoke with his usual refined demeanor, a true gentleman. My bones were quickly excavated. They looked pretty good, actually. Especially those long legs. The forensic police took my remains for examination. You don't have an owner, do you? Come home with me, little bear. Of course, I agreed. I became my mother's precious darling once again. I remembered telling my mother once that in my next life, I didn't want to be human. I just wanted to be a happy, carefree little dog, sleeping all day. So, if you see me on the street in your next life, bark twice, and I'll take you home and raise you again. A casual remark from 10 years ago had unexpectedly come true. My parents didn't go to the police station with the officers. Instead, they took me to the veterinary hospital. How annoying, they just casually touched my private parts. Although I was a small dog now, not a large one, I was very healthy, just a little dirty. A bath would fix that. Finally, I understood why dogs bark when they're bathed. There's absolutely no sense of security, it feels like drowning. I struggled, clinging to the handsome vet's shoulder, howling, "Woof, let me go now." The young man, drenched by me, could only sigh helplessly. Thankfully, he was used to it. After what felt like an eternity, the bath was over. Then came the blow-drying, which sounded like thunder exploding in my ears. Woof, woof, woof. Stop drying, I'm going deaf. When he handed me back to my mother, the young man breathed a sigh of relief. My father was carrying a large bag of things, all bought for me, it seemed. The new leash was a lovely blue, the color I would have chosen myself. Little Bear likes the same color as her sister. Her sister's name is Jenny. So your little bear, just like a teddy bear. Woof, woof, I barked in approval. Let me walk him, my father said. I hear this breed is hard to hold back if they start running. He looked at me sternly, worried I might trip his precious wife. Was I really that kind of dog? Wanting to make a good impression on my father, I walked obediently by his side, not barking or running around. Both of them weren't very happy, and the walk was a little quiet. Our house was still there, in the professor's apartment complex at Zhang University. If I were still alive, I would have graduated from Zhang University 5 or 6 years ago. 10 years ago, in the middle of summer, after my university entrance exams, I arranged to meet Daniel by the river. Daniel was my childhood sweetheart. I intended to confess my feelings that day. I sat by the small river, a cup of bubble tea in my hand, a little nervous, but mostly excited. My blue skirt swayed with my restlessness. A small truck pulled up beside me. Before I could react, my mouth and nose were covered, and I was dragged into the vehicle. Before I lost consciousness, I saw Daniel walking towards the river. He was smiling, holding a box of my favorite strawberries. My kidnappers were 2 people I didn't know, and their faces were obscured. I only remember them taking me to a forest, then stabbing me with a knife. Pain surged from all directions. Even as I died, I didn't know what deep enmity I had with them, yet they stabbed me dozens of times. "Blame your bad luck," the man in front of me said, then plunged a knife into my heart. Suffocation, pain, numbness, then death. The cicadas still buzzed deafeningly in my ears. My soul escaped my body. They buried me right there in the forest, and I was trapped there with my body. For 10 years, I witnessed the development of Zhang City. The once remote forest had become a park. Every day, I could tease the children and dogs in the park. Life wasn't too bad. Back home, I started running and jumping everywhere. I picked up my favorite cushion from the corner and stomped on it with all my might. The same old feeling? "Big brother, I'm back." My mother said nothing, just smiled and stroked my head. "Little bear, play by yourself. Mommy's going to cook dinner for you." While one person was in the kitchen and the other in the study, I stealthily opened my bedroom door. My favorite large brown teddy bear was still on the windowsill, still incredibly soft. The furniture in my room was exactly as it had been, unchanged. I habitually looked under the bed. My stack of CEO romance novels wasn't even dusty. I gave up the idea of taking the teddy bear and left the room. Just then, my mother called me for dinner. My bowl was full of dry kibble and dried meat, crunchy and delicious. So good. After dinner, I watched TV with my parents on the sofa. Watching the news after a meal was my father's old habit. Today, the remains of Jenny Zhang, who went missing 10 years ago, were excavated at Xinjiang Park. The Jenny Zhang case had once shocked Jiang City. Police deployed a large force, searching for 2 months without success. Many citizens also volunteered to help with the search. 10 years have passed, and the cheerful girl from back then is now just a pile of white bones. According to police, Jenny Zhang was stabbed multiple times, with numerous cuts on her bones. Not to mention the stabs that missed the bones, showing the extent of the perpetrator's cruelty. Oh no, my mother is definitely going to cry. When I turned, she was already leaning on my father's shoulder, weeping. My father, always composed, was wiping away tears from the corners of his eyes. Knock, 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 the sound of knocking, it was Daniel. "Uncle, Auntie, I just saw the news. Jenny. Wow, Daniel is even more handsome. I love him even more." I rushed at him, wagging my tail enthusiastically. "Woof, woof, woof, handsome man, kiss me." "Handsome man, this is little bear who found Jenny." After a few words, Daniel took me outside. "I'll take him for a walk. Uncle and Auntie need some time alone." Daniel took me to the riverside, sitting where I used to wait for him. This time, he didn't hold back, burying his head in his knees and crying. I sat beside him, and when he didn't react, I crawled into his lap, licking the tears from his face. So salty. His eyes were red and looked so pitiful. But humans and dogs are on different paths. We shared one lifetime, but in the end, it was too late. Daniel hugged me, burying his face in my neck. "Woof, woof, woof, don't rub." "I just had a bath today. Oh, I'll get dirty. I don't want another bath." "Thank you, little bear. Otherwise, how much longer would Jenny have to be alone there? For 10 years, she never came to me. I never dreamt of her. Is she blaming me for not coming sooner? If I had come earlier, maybe I could have walked with her on the path to the underworld." Why is he talking like that? Tooey, 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 why curse yourself? Hearing him, I felt lucky he was a step late. This had nothing to do with him. He didn't need to sacrifice his life. I was going to confess to her. The love letter in my hand, I had read it over and over, wanting to read it to Jenny. If she had agreed, maybe we would have had a little dog by now. She loved furry animals. That damn killer, why did he kill me? I must get that love letter. Daniel cried for a long time, occasionally talking about things from the past 10 years. He had continued studying at Zhang University and was now a PhD. That's great, just as he always planned. I remembered him saying he wanted to be like the seniors and continue studying at Zhang University. I had said, "I'll stop studying after university. I want to study archaeology and travel all over the country. Then I'll wait for you in Jiang City." 10 years. Time had flown by in a blink. The innocent young man from back then had become a man capable of shouldering everything alone. When he calmed down, we both stood up to go home. On the way, he bought a balloon and tied it to my leash. Still a child at heart, just like before. Tonight, for them, felt like a dream. After all the emotions were poured out, life still had to go on. A week later, my remains were brought home. My parents had already chosen a cemetery for me, even specially selecting a pale pink urn. My bones, after cremation, were still a bit large. The staff gently tapped them a bit before placing them in the urn. My physical body in this world had completely disappeared. Suddenly, I felt a little sad. Daniel was also there. He held my urn throughout the ceremony, only letting go when it was time for burial. Quite a few people came to bid me farewell, many of whom I didn't know. Suddenly, a familiar scent wafted into my nose, the killer's scent. In the middle of summer, a coldness struck like a venomous snake. The pungent perfume was exactly the same as 10 years ago, and now that I was a dog, the scent was even stronger. I lifted my dog's head, looking at each person. Many I didn't know. Rest in peace, little Jenny. Perhaps little Jenny has a new life now. Teachers, please contain your grief. Everyone offered comforting words, telling my parents not to dwell on the past, to let go. Rest in peace. A man in a suit placed a white rose on my urn. I looked at him closely. His voice and scent were identical to 10 years ago. This time, I finally saw his face clearly. Neatly dressed in an expensive suit, an ordinary face with nothing special about it, long, narrow eyes, a few pockmarks from acne, and large, gold-rimmed glasses that gave him an educated look. The more I looked, the more confused I became, and my dog's head felt a little dizzy. Was the corner of that man's mouth curved upwards? The world spun. I quickly realized there was something wrong with the bouquet. I immediately ran to the urn, grabbed the white rose, and started tearing it apart. Each petal was ripped and bitten, revealing a tiny red crystal hidden within the bud. I didn't know what it was, but after I tore the petals apart, the dizzying sensation disappeared. No way, you killed me and still don't want my soul to find peace? You're so afraid I'll turn into a vengeful ghost, yet you dared to kill me in the first place? My sudden actions interrupted everyone's thoughts. The man in the suit shot me a resentful glance as if about to kick me. My mother pulled me back, hugging me and crying. "Little bear, stop causing trouble. Let your sister rest in peace, darling." I felt wronged but couldn't speak. Language barriers. A dog could only sigh. I obediently lay in my mother's arms, watching the man from a distance as he spoke to someone else, then left. The person he was talking to was probably his accomplice from back then. This made me quite worried. The killer was someone my parents knew. I was afraid they would target my parents. On the way home, I lost interest in running and jumping. Return to the world of the living, you must cherish life. One wrong step and your bones will be shattered. An old Taoist priest sat by the road, looking at me mysteriously. Woof, 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 exactly. Master, quick, tell my fortune? Perhaps that statement was a bit unlucky. My mother glanced at the Taoist priest and pulled me away. I didn't dare be too stubborn, but I kept looking back 3 times as I walked. I'll wait for you here. Woof, woof, yes, yes. I planned to find Daniel that evening, ask him to take me for a walk, and then I would lead him here. Perfect. Daniel took me to a small park, intending for me to walk there. I tugged at the leash and ran towards where I had seen the Taoist priest earlier that day. Sure enough, the old Taoist priest was still sitting there. "You've come." I walked up to him and sat down. "The rose branch you received today was given by my hand. The person who requested the flower only said that evil spirits were causing trouble, so I gave it to them. I didn't expect it to almost harm you. I have divined your fortune. If you no longer cling to the past, you can live out your life in this body." Woof woof, thank you, master, I understand. What needed to be said has been said. Farewell. The Taoist priest stood up, stroked my head, then his straight, slender figure like ivory bamboo faded into the distance. I immediately ran back to find Daniel. Arriving back at the small park, I heard Daniel's voice, hoarse from calling my name. I ran to him and he scolded me angrily. "Where did you go? Do you even know your way back?" Then he gently patted my head a few times. I knew I was wrong, so I didn't dare resist, just whimpered softly. After letting out his frustration, Daniel sat down beside me and hugged me. "Little bear, you can't do that again, understand? If you disappear, what will we do?" In that moment, I understood why the Taoist priest advised me to let go of my attachments. I rubbed my nose against Daniel's cheek. "Okay, from now on, I'll stay with everyone and be good." Jenny had been dead for 10 years, everyone should forget her and continue to live well. Now, there was only a mischievous, troublesome little bear. Unexpectedly, trouble found me. Back home, I saw the man in the suit sitting on the sofa. "Oh, Arthur Shen, this is my little bear. Little bear, come say hello to Uncle." Every time we had guests, they made me perform. I reluctantly went out to greet him. "Woof, woof, woof. I hope you get fired from your job, get hit by a falling flower pot on the street, have everything go wrong, and live alone until your hair turns white." The more I thought about it, the happier I felt, and the more enthusiastically I barked. My father, not understanding me, was showing off to the man in the suit. "See how much my little bear likes you? He's so enthusiastic." "No, Dad, you're misunderstanding me." The man in the suit chuckled. Still a great teacher, Professor Zhang. Teacher. This pervert was my father's student, and he was such a good actor. When my father left, the man in the suit approached me. He stroked my head, chuckled soundlessly, and stared into my eyes. Do you know how the person you dug up died? I stabbed her many times, but I don't remember the exact number. Today, you chewed up the flower I gave her. I'm very angry. Don't be so naughty in the future, okay? I won't bite a dog. With that, he left. Teacher, I have something to do. I'll be going now. At dinner, my mother was still wondering. Didn't that Arthur Shen stop coming around after you refused his participation in the project? Why did he come to Jenny's funeral this time? I don't know. Perhaps he's matured now. He probably realized how childish he was back then. Only I knew the real reason. Daniel was 28 and still didn't have a girlfriend. My aunt was very anxious, complaining to my mother. Tell me, what kind of girl does he like? I've introduced him to all the girls in this neighborhood, and he doesn't like any of them. So, when Daniel took me for a walk, I led him straight to the girl who always secretly peeked at him. I lunged at her, creating an opportunity for the two of them. To apologize, Daniel offered to buy her a drink. The girl kept me outside. Good dog, little bear. If we become a couple, I'll give you delicious food every day. I didn't feel happy receiving her promise. If only it were me, but I didn't have a chance to start over. After buying the drink, Daniel intended to take me away. I refused to leave the girl. If we left this time, nothing would happen. So Daniel invited the girl back to our house for tea. Thank you. Little bear seems to really like you. Why don't you come in for a cup of tea? I hadn't been to Daniel's house in a long time. No one was home. I darted into Daniel's room. I wanted to find the love letter I had yearned for so long. His room was still so clean. Based on my understanding of Daniel, I searched under the bed and found a cardboard box. Inside were all the small paper notes he and I had written to each other, along with all sorts of photos of me, but no love letter. Little bear, come get some snacks. Daniel stood at the door, looking as if he'd been there for a long time. The girl who was having tea in the living room also stood up and looked around. There were many photos on the cabinet. The girl immediately saw a photo of Daniel smiling brightly next to another girl. Who is this? The person I like. The girl was a little disbelieving. I've never seen anyone like her around you. She's been a star for 10 years now. Sorry. It's okay. She's always been by my side. My matchmaking plan completely failed, but my mood improved. I clung to Daniel, wanting to play. In the evening, when my father came to pick me up, someone else came along. Someone I knew very well, Michael, my father's student. When I was in high school, he often helped me study and took me out to play. I really liked him. A brotherly kind of love. Immediately, the bad dog abandoned Daniel and clung to Michael. Teacher, has there been any progress on Jenny's case? Detective who is still investigating. We must trust him. I wonder if, after 10 years, the culprit can still be found? The net of heaven has large meshes, but it lets nothing through. If something was done, it will surely leave traces. Jenny will certainly help us in secret. I won't, don't say such things. Michael nodded, a pensive expression on his face. Ah, what you said reminds me. Detective who told me last time that the small truck from 10 years ago was recorded. He plans to check the park surveillance cameras from the past 10 years to see if the culprit ever returned to look. My father said, his face lighting up. Perhaps this 10-year-old cold case will be solved soon. I never thought you'd be so persistent for so long. Of course, Jenny is the daughter I raised for 18 years. Even if it takes 30 years, as long as I live, I will continue to search. My father was a little emotional. Michael patted my father's shoulder, helping him calm down. That's truly admirable. Unexpectedly, my father's words came true just 2 days later. Surveillance cameras captured a person who came to the park every year, sitting on the bench in front of where I was buried, sitting all afternoon. This person was Arthur Shen. But when the police found Arthur Shen, he was already dead. Before the police even had a chance to suspect him. Detective who came to our house to recount these things. Arthur Shen died a tragic death. His head was placed in front of my grave, his eyes wide open, staring at my name. It's terrifying. I stood beside him, looking at the photos detective who showed my father. So bloody, but next to Arthur Shen's head was a bouquet of flowers, exactly like the one he had placed on my urn last time. I immediately knew Arthur Shen had been killed by his accomplice. Clearly, I didn't do anything, but things were still taking a bad turn, and I didn't know who the other person was. After everyone left, my father suddenly broke down. No wonder he inquired about me last time. I thought he had matured, but he was just a rat. My father wiped away tears, his voice full of sorrow. My Jenny, it turns out I caused her death. This truth was too great a shock for my father, and it took him a long time to recover. My mother hugged him, and he finally quieted down a bit. My father recounted, his voice choked with emotion. 10 years ago, my father had a national project, and Arthur Shen wanted to participate, but my father felt Arthur Shen's academic qualifications weren't sufficient, so he refused. Unexpectedly, a few days later, Arthur Shen joined another professor's project. Based on that project, he became rich and successful, just as he was now. I lay in my father's lap, quietly listening to every word. That evening, my father went to sleep very early, not watching the news. This worried me greatly. This old man won't do anything foolish, will he? I could only lie in front of the master bedroom door, listening to the movements inside. As I drifted off to sleep, a metallic smell of blood wafted into my nose, accompanied by a hint of sweet perfume. This smell ignited my hunting instinct, making my heart pound and my whole body restless. A small sound at the door caught my attention. Woof, 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 I started barking frantically. The barks echoed throughout the apartment complex. My mother came out of the room. "Little bear, what's wrong?" My mother's gentle petting couldn't soothe my agitation. I stared at the black door. My father also came out of the room, quickly understanding me. The two of them entered the kitchen, knives in hand, one after the other. Clink, the door opened. No one was there, but there was a severed hand holding a piece of paper. My mother gasped, the knife in her hand clattering to the floor. Daniel, from the opposite apartment, also hastily opened his door. Seeing this scene, Daniel immediately called the police. "Uncle, Auntie, get inside the house." Detective Who quickly arrived. Daniel went back to his apartment to cooperate with the statement. My parents were quite frightened, their words a bit jumbled. It was Little Bear barking at the door all night. We sensed something was wrong and opened the door to find this hand. "Captain, this hand might be Arthur Shen's." The paper says, "That day, I used this very hand to plunge the knife into Jenny Zhang's heart. But we'll have to wait for the forensic team to take this hand back and compare it with Arthur Shen's head." My mother, hearing that the hand was Arthur Shen's, immediately stopped trembling. She picked up the knife from the table, wanting to hack at it a few more times. My father didn't stop her. Instead, I had to cooperate with Detective Who to forcefully pull my mother back. "Woof, woof, woof. Calm down, please." Due to Detective Who's obstruction, my mother couldn't act. Her gaze at Detective Who also held a hint of dissatisfaction. No more information could be gathered, only corroborating the statements of other residents in the apartment complex to determine when the culprit arrived. Criminal police worked through the night to check the cameras, but the university believed that the residents of the professor's complex were all highly educated, so they only installed one camera right in the middle of the hallway. At the time I woke up, Detective Who was talking to my father. Perhaps the culprit came from the small forest behind the apartment complex. They wore a cap and a mask, so their face wasn't clear, but their build matches one of the two suspects who kidnapped Jenny Zhang 10 years ago. A fairly muscular build. They arrived at 1 a.m. with a backpack and left 2 minutes later. Detective Who's expression was a little serious. "I suspect Jenny Zhang's case was committed by someone close to you. Now you too might also be in danger." My father slammed the table, making the room shake. "He dares to come here? If he dares to come, the knives in our house haven't been gathering dust for years." This slam, I don't know if it scared the culprit, but it certainly scared me. I jumped, trembling, fully awake. Until now, everyone only knew Arthur Shen was dead, but where the rest of his body was remained unknown. But I had an idea. That evening, Daniel drove me to Xinjiang Park. Sure enough, the thoughts of a handsome man and a clever dog were consistent. We truly were high IQ individuals. Oh no, I'm a dog. I led him towards where I was buried long ago. With every step, I became more certain Arthur Shen was here because his scent wafted straight into my nose. On an empty patch of grass in the park, there was a white rose. As if it had absorbed enough nutrients, the flower had bloomed into a vibrant red pistil, very splendid, radiating a dangerous aura. I ran over, chewed up the white rose, and started digging. I have an innate talent for digging. I dig incredibly fast. Combined with my nose pushing into the earth, Daniel's shovel was completely unused. Once more, pushing into the earth, my mouth touched something soft and mushy, emitting a putrid stench. Woof, woof, woof. When I realized I had touched Arthur Shen's corpse, I ran aside and started gagging. My dog's body trembled violently with my dry heaves. The flesh had been putrid for a long time, covered in maggots. Thinking of that, I gagged again. I wished I could throw up everything I had eaten yesterday. I should have just let Daniel do the digging. When the police arrived, I was lying on the side, throwing up bile, looking almost dead. Detective Hu was a little angry seeing us making such a mess. Do you two know how dangerous this is? It's okay if the dog gets hurt, but what if something happens to a person? Is a dog's life not a life? I immediately revived, stood up, and bumped into Detective Hu a few times. Woof, woof, woof. Little bear, you can't. Under my fierce attack, Detective Hu couldn't resist. I proudly wagged my head, swaggering off. Actually, I just lay down again, feeling sad. Daniel had to apologize profusely to Detective Hu before we were released. I sat in the passenger seat of Daniel's car, staring at the buildings along the road. When we arrived at the pet shop for my first bath, I eagerly pawed at the car door. Woof woof, let me out to bathe, hurry. Daniel stroked my head, smiling. You dug it yourself, now you deal with it. Faced with his teasing, I had no energy to retort. All I wanted was a bath. The handsome vet saw me again, letting out a helpless sigh. This dog doesn't need baths so often. Didn't he just have one half a month ago? No need. He then tried to send us away. I hugged his long legs and started howling. Woof, I want a bath, I want a bath. He played in the dirt too much today. Just bathe him, I'll pay extra. Faced with the allure of money, the handsome vet succumbed. Half a month later, I was once again clinging to him and howling in the bathtub. But while howling, I didn't forget to open my dog's mouth wide. Woof woof, brush my teeth, handsome man, brush my teeth. The young man brushed my teeth a few times before I was finally satisfied. After the bath, I was a new dog again. Boss, what is this? Daniel, standing outside, picked up a button. This is a call button for owners. Just connect it to your phone, and when your pet presses this button, the owner's phone will receive a message. Wow, how advanced. Has technology developed so much in 10 years? Last time I looked at Daniel's phone, I didn't even know how to use it. After all, when I died, my mother was still using a flip phone. 10 years ago, when I arranged to meet Daniel, I was still using a landline. I was a little curious and jumped to Daniel, wanting to see. I'll buy one for you, little bear. If you want to find me to play, just press it. My tail wagged furiously, my eyes sparkling as I stared at the button. New toy? With the handsome vet's help, Daniel successfully connected it to his phone. In the car, I couldn't help but play with it. I pressed the button with all my might, and I heard Daniel's phone ring over and over again. Little bear, you can't press this button like that at home, okay? Woof, only press it when you really want to find me. Of course, I'm a good girl. Back home, I placed my new toy beside my food bowl. Just looking at it made me happy. Zhang University, knowing what had happened to my family, gave my parents a few days off. My father waved his hand at the principal. No need, I want to see who killed whom. This old man woke up at 6:30 a.m. for several days in a row, dragging my mother and me for morning runs, saying it was to build up our health. Did he really think this old body could withstand anything? While my father was exercising, I began my great teeth-grinding campaign. When my mother took me to the market, I stared at the beef bones, my eyes shining. My mother thought I craved meat, so she stewed it for a long time. At noon, my mother gave me a bowl full of beef, but what I wanted was the asterisk bones asterisk. I committed the second most shameful act since becoming a dog, rummaging through the trash. The first was eating indiscriminately. I retrieved a beef bone from the trash can and started gnawing on it. Only then did my mother understand me. Hey, old Zhang, look, little bear is gnawing on bones. Is he going to choke? My father took off his glasses and looked at me. It's fine, don't dogs eat bones? Perhaps it's his teething phase. Give him a bone every day from now on. My mother was half believing, half doubting, observing me all day. Seeing that I wasn't choking, she finally believed I was really just teething. Michael heard the news and also came frequently these past few days, saying he was there to protect my parents. But now, Michael had changed a lot. When no one was around, he always had a pensive expression, radiating a cold aura. I no longer dared to approach him. He made me very uncomfortable, not physically, but a spiritual oppression. But when my parents appeared, he returned to his cheerful, smiling demeanor, just like that white rose blooming vividly truly bizarre. Indeed, only Daniel could be consistent in front of me, inside and out. The bad dog no longer liked Michael, turning and leaping into Daniel's arms. Michael was considered my father's most beloved student. Every time he came, my father was noticeably happier. He could ramble to him about a bunch of things I didn't understand. Hey, you've been working on projects with me for so long, do you regret it? Many students from your cohort have already made a lot of money, but you're still the same. My father's blunt speaking style was unchanged. Michael smiled. No regrets. Being able to study under you, teacher, is something they can only dream of. Besides, you're like a father to me. How can a child leave their father? These words moved even me. Although I was no longer with my parents, having a student like this was a blessing for my father. My father was also deeply moved. That evening, he pulled Michael for a drink, saying he would take care of Michael for life. I could feel that Michael was genuinely happy tonight, not faking it. The cause of Arthur Shen's death was a stab wound to the heart. He died exactly like me. Excellent. Tonight I must eat 2 more bowls of kibble. My mother slammed the table, extremely angry. What? Is the killer provoking us? Can you stop being so startled all the time? My father clutched his chest, only then calming his little heart, which had been scared by my mother. He didn't used to look like this when he slammed the table. Once my mother calmed down, Detective Who continued, we compared this knife wound with the wounds on Jenny's body and concluded that it might be the same type of knife, or even the same knife. So, is there any clue about this knife? Detective Who shook his head. This type of knife isn't common, it has serrations. We contacted all the manufacturers in Zhang City and confirmed that this knife was custom-made 10 years ago. There were only 2 such knives in total. 2 custom-made knives. Wouldn't that be easy to find then? Too much time has passed. At that time, the manufacturer was just a small workshop and didn't register personal information. He only remembers that the knife handles each had a small red crystal embedded. Hearing this, I seemed to recall something. Before I died, I did see a flash of red. I thought it was blood gushing out. The killer still hadn't been found. To ensure our safety, Detective Who arranged for 24-hour surveillance at the professor's apartment complex. This killer was very cunning and knew Zhang University well, so the suspects were narrowed down to Zhang University students who had connections with Arthur Shen 10 years ago. My father looked at the list that included Michael's name. Absolutely impossible. He's been with me for over 10 years. His character is honest and trustworthy. It's just suspicion. Investigating further isn't a bad thing. Detective Who's words made it seem like we were overreacting. Nearly 10 days passed, and the killer didn't appear again, like a ghost that came and went without a trace in the middle of the night. Since they couldn't investigate further at Zhang University, the police shifted their focus to Arthur Shen's murder case. Now, surveillance cameras are very advanced, especially in the apartment complex where Arthur Shen lived. It's like a spy movie. The surveillance cameras there have no blind spots. Every house is equipped. The cameras in that complex can store data for 1 year. We checked all the footage from the past year. We discovered that around the time Jenny was found, Michael visited Arthur Shen many times. And 10 years ago, it was Michael who introduced Arthur Shen to Professor Lee's project. Besides these 2 periods, the 2 of them had no other interactions. Finally, the physique of the person in the camera matched him. We also compared it with the surveillance camera footage from when Michael visited your home. His gait was also similar. This suspicion was like a bolt from the blue for my father. How could he kill Jenny? He always said he considered Jenny his biological sister. Not only my father, but even I was incredibly astonished. Why? But thinking it through, there were clues. I hadn't even told my parents about meeting Daniel by the river, yet those 2 found their way directly to the river. It was because at that time, I considered Michael my elder brother, so I asked him, what kind of fruit do boys like? So, our Jenny is planning to give it to someone? Is it that boy Daniel? At that time, he kept teasing me, asking for details of my plan, so I told him everything. I'm meeting him by the river tomorrow. In the end, Michael said nothing, just stroked my head. To avoid alerting him, Daniel also didn't know about this. Michael usually wasn't at Zhang University, and even my father didn't know what he usually did. Last time, the police tried to find him for information, searched for 2 days without success, and eventually, he came forward himself. Detective Who and my father discussed it and decided to make the arrest on the university's anniversary celebration day. The auditorium would be crowded, and police would disguise themselves as security guards to maintain order. The main purpose was to apprehend Michael. There weren't enough officers, so all the police from around the apartment complex came to the auditorium to assist. I stayed home with my mother, waiting for news. The celebration was lively. I could hear fireworks from the auditorium far away. Outside, the sun was beautiful, making me feel lazy. Today is truly a beautiful day to sleep. Knock, knock, knock. My mother stood up to open the door. "Who is it?" I stretched, then heard my mother fall to the ground with a cry. It was Michael. My mother scrambled up from the floor and ran into the kitchen to grab a knife. "Why did you kill Jenny? Tell me, did your husband and I treat you badly? You killed our only daughter. It's a shame Jenny called you brother for 2 years. How could you be so cold and heartless?" Michael closed the door and took out a small, exquisite knife from his pocket. "This is bad." I immediately ran to my food bowl, frantically pressing the button. "Daniel, you must receive the distress signal I'm sending you. Bring Detective Who here quickly." I stood in front of my mother, baring my teeth and growling at Michael. "Even a dog is so loyal. I'm so envious of you all. Why do you get to receive love and attention from a father while I can only be his student?" This was the first time I saw him so agitated. But who was his father? Calling my father his biological father. What did he mean? Was he bullying me because I couldn't speak? My mother also didn't understand. "What are you talking about?" I thought if Jenny died, I would be the only child of my father. Why, after she's been dead for 10 years, can't you let go? We could all clearly have a better life. Are you crazy? Even if Jenny has been dead for 10 years, she is my flesh and blood, the child I painstakingly raised. How can we let go? I am crazy. So when father said he must find the killer, I wanted him to find him. I knew that even if I killed Arthur Shen, I wouldn't escape, but I didn't want to disappoint my father's expectations. These words stunned me. Although I trusted my father, there were 2 seconds of doubt in my heart. Was Michael my father's illegitimate son? Why did you abandon my mother and me for these people, Dad? Today, I'll see what magic you have that allows you to destroy another family. Huh, does he live in the same world as me? I had heard the story of my parents meeting countless times. They were childhood sweethearts, growing up together. Elementary school, middle school, high school, even university, they attended the same schools, never leaving each other's side. Where would my father have found the time to have a child with another woman? After hearing his story, my mother and I completely understood. Jenny Zhang had been killed by a madman and an envious person collaborating. Suddenly, police sirens wailed from downstairs. It must be Daniel bringing Detective Who. Michael also heard the sound, immediately raised his knife, and lunged towards my mother. "If you want to hurt my mother, you have to ask if I agree first." I lunged straight at him, my sharp teeth sinking into his arm. It was the first time I tasted blood, making me frantic. Michael, bitten, could only switch hands on the knife and stab at me. I yelped in pain. It was at this moment that Michael's hand was free. He kicked me, sending me flying into the dining table. Oh, little bear, that stab really hurt. But Michael was already heading towards my mother. I no longer paid attention to my wound, scrambling up and blocking my mother. My mother, seeing me injured, pointed her knife at Michael. Michael showed no fear, charging forward. My mother swung her knife wildly, slashing Michael's arm. I seized the opportunity, lunged, and tackled Michael to the ground, biting and tearing at him. He also went mad, plunging the small knife into my body repeatedly, just like 10 years ago. In the end, I couldn't live out my life in this body. Even the way I died was identical. But this time, I died in my mother's arms, her hot tears warm like the morning sun. In the last moment before closing my eyes, I saw my father and Daniel burst in. It was good, I had protected my mother. Only this time, I died right before their eyes, watching their tears fall like rain. Postscript 13, Aftermath. Detective Who saw the scene before him quickly drew his gun, approached Michael, and handcuffed him. Michael didn't resist, he even actively offered his hands. His eyes were always on his teacher. Michael grew up with his mother, who often instilled in him that their current poverty was because his father had changed his mind and abandoned them. His childhood was terrible. His mother either beat him or scolded him. When he was admitted to Zhang University and became Professor Zhang's student, the teacher was very much like a father to him. Over time, he came to see the teacher as the biological father who had abandoned him and his mother. The teacher's wife and daughter were the culprits who had stolen his father's love. He killed Jenny Zhang to reclaim his father's love. So 10 years ago, he enlisted Arthur Shen, who had just been rejected from Professor Zhang's project. Arthur Shen already wanted revenge on Professor Zhang, and Michael also introduced Professor Li's project to him, so there was no reason not to go along with it. The two reached an agreement, venting all their anger on Jenny Zhang. Afterward, the two parted ways like drifting duckweed. They had no contact for 10 years. Michael's mental state was completely abnormal. He had a pathological possessiveness towards his teacher. When the police searched Michael's house based on the address he provided, upon opening the door, they found the corpse of a middle-aged woman immersed in formaldehyde in the middle of the room. A dagger was still plunged into the corpse's chest. This middle-aged woman was Michael's mother. The first time he killed someone, it was his own mother. The moment he stabbed his mother, he thought he had gone insane, but he also felt a strange euphoria. This way, his mother could be with him forever, listening to his troubles and giving him a twisted comfort. Daniel's interlude asterisk. 10 years ago, when Jenny asked me to meet her by the river, I was so excited. I thought the university entrance exams are over. Now confessing my feelings wouldn't be dating too early. That day, it was quite hot, and the noisy cicadas even sounded strangely melodious. Passing by the supermarket, neat rows of strawberries looked delicious. Jenny would definitely love them. All the way there, I kept imagining the beautiful days ahead, even humming a little song. A small truck sped past me, bringing a light breeze. But when I arrived at the riverside, I only saw the spilled bubble tea on the ground. Jenny, Jenny! I thought she had fallen into the water, rushing down to the riverbank to search. There were no traces to show she had been there. I frantically ran home, wanting to see if Jenny had waited too long and gone back early. Mrs. Zhang was watching TV at home, saying Jenny hadn't returned. I immediately told her about Jenny's disappearance. Mrs. Zhang called Mr. Zhang, who was still at school, and together we went to the police station to report it. She's been missing for less than 24 hours. You two should go home and wait. She might have run off somewhere to play. Mrs. Zhang was very worried, saying Jenny had always been a good child and wouldn't do such things. Besides, bubble tea was Jenny's favorite. She wouldn't just throw it away. Just then, Detective Hu had some free time and agreed to help us search. I followed Detective Hu, searching all day, but found no trace of Jenny. Finally, the police station realized the seriousness of the matter and began checking cameras. We sifted through camera footage for several days, and Mrs. Zhang also waited by the phone for days. Finally, they found Jenny's silhouette on a national highway. She was taken away by a small truck. I suddenly remembered seeing that truck. It had driven right past me. It turned out Jenny and I were so close at that moment. How much I had hoped it was a normal kidnapping. That way, I still had a chance to save Jenny. But she vanished without a trace. During that time, Mr. Zhang basically stopped caring about his students. Every day, besides eating and sleeping, he was searching for Jenny. We searched all over Jiang City but couldn't find her. 2 months later, we gradually realized Jenny had truly disappeared. Over the past 10 years, I often dreamt of two strangers taking Jenny away. I chased after them, begging them to give Jenny back to me. But each time, they just glanced at me and drove off in that small truck. At first, I even wanted to jump into the river and join Jenny. But every time I saw my mother cry and advise me to let go, it was like a rope pulling me back to this world. I fulfilled the promise Jenny and I made that year. I always waited for her at Jiang University. I admit that when I saw the news about Jenny's remains being excavated, I felt like a century had passed. I saw the little dog that had dug up Jenny. His name was Little Bear, also the little bear that Jenny liked. I didn't dare show my emotions in front of everyone. I could only hug him. When Jenny was buried, I held an infinitely selfish heart. I placed the love letter I had wanted to read to Jenny 10 years ago into the urn. I saw that Little Bear was very much like Jenny. At home, he always liked to lie on that cushion. I could always see Jenny's shadow in him, especially when Little Bear Familiar stole into my room and revealed my secret. This must be my Jenny, right? A wild thought, but I couldn't deny it. I stood at the door for a long time before finding my voice again. Little Bear, come get some snacks. I dismissed the frivolous relationships he brought my way. I started playing Goosegrass on TV. This was her favorite cartoon. I started from the episode she watched 10 years ago. Little Bear curled up in my arms, watching intently. I seemed to be able to see emotions on a dog's face. It was so good. Jenny had appeared beside me once again. I was so content. But ironically, the killer reappeared. Jenny's life was once again in turmoil. The head before the tombstone, the severed hand before the front door. The 10-year-old case reconnected with the present. I repeatedly considered if the killer's actions after killing Arthur Shen were repeating what happened 10 years ago. That evening, I took Little Bear to Xinjiang Park. Sure enough, Arthur Shen's body was scattered there, buried where Jenny had rested for 10 years. How disgusting. When Little Bear dug, he touched Arthur Shen's body. I watched him gagging on the side. In that moment, I seemed to see an image of Jenny as an adult. She was still as mischievous and cheerful as ever. On the way home with Little Bear, I watched him lie by the car window, looking out. Seeing the pet shop, his eager look and tapping on the window glass were truly adorable. Hearing his screams during the bath, I stood outside the door, laughing nonstop. I had my eye on a notification button so Little Bear could find me if anything happened. He was very happy, and I was very happy too. Life continued peacefully. Every day I took him out to play, took him to experience the changes in Zhang City. I thought life would go on like this forever, until the university's anniversary celebration. I stood in the auditorium, feeling my phone vibrate continuously. This was the special ringtone I had set for Jenny. Terrible thoughts flashed through my mind. All of them were images of Jenny clutching knife wounds on her chest, calling for help. I immediately informed Detective Hu at the door and raced back to the apartment complex. A burning sensation in my nasal cavity, my heart feeling like it would burst from my chest. I couldn't hear any other sounds. In my heart, I only called Jenny's name repeatedly. Yet I was still one step late. The living room was messy, blood splattered everywhere. I had lost Jenny once again. My legs gave out before my body. I collapsed to the ground, numbly watching Jenny close her eyes. I also closed my eyes, tears unable to stop falling. I didn't know what to say. Jenny had died at the hands of her beloved brother Michael. It was true 10 years ago, and it was true now. How ironic. One person's unfortunate childhood had buried the entire life of the lively, cheerful girl, Jenny, destroying my life and hope. Love letter *. Dearest Jenny, as our parents say, we've known each other for 18 years. My life has never been without you, and in the future, I don't want to be without you either. Actually, what I want to say is that I like you. It seems that every time you appear, the world becomes brighter and more beautiful. I don't know what it is about you that I like, but your every action captivates my eyes. I think this is everything I like about you. The moon patiently orbits the Earth, yet it never feels disheartened, willingly offering its light to Earth's night. Compared to the sun's brilliance, the moon is always cool. So, will you agree to be by my side, to walk with me through life? Accept my boredom and slowness, turn Daniel into Jenny Zhang's Daniel, and live a lifetime together? I will forever be your moon, forever waiting for you to return to Jiang City. Song lyrics *. That summer, white flowers bloomed on the path. Bubble tea remained, and I waited for you by the river. But strange winds carried you away forever, leaving behind memories. 10 years passed, submerged in sorrow, your body lying peacefully under the earth. A lonely soul, wandering, teasing the wind and clouds. Until one day, a dog's footsteps came. My soul returned in the body of a little dog. I called your name, I howled, but no one heard. Mom still cried, Dad still remembered, I still waited for you to come home. I wanted to hug, to comfort, to say words of love. But all that remained were barks echoing in the night. Your body lay peacefully under the mound of earth, flowers and dust. My soul, wandering, teasing the wind and clouds. Until one day, a dog's footsteps came. My soul returned in the body of a little dog. Waiting, it turns out you were here. Only I didn't see that you were still waiting for me to return. 10 years passed, I still remembered, still hurt. But now, I am no longer myself, only a little dog. Even if my next life is as a dog, I still want to be by your side. I still want to be hugged, still want to be comforted. Even if my next life is as a dog, I still want to be loved. And I will forever be your little dog. Of our family,